Hey YouTube viewers, this is your boy Brandon and we're back at it with a second episode of Soundmind. So this time we're going to do a little something different. I'm going to be interviewed by AbSaluteStyle, and you can follow her on AbSaluteStyle Instagram, and you'll see all different types of styles. A lot of the things that you guys see me wearing, from jewelry to to clothes, is done by her company. But I'm going to be taking a series of questions from her, and we're just going to shoot straight. A lot of the things that you guys have been asking me about, you're going to learn a lot about me today and how we got to this sound mind and why I've given my life to it. Alright, so let's go. Buckle up.
All right, first questions first. What is sound mind? Like, what exactly is this whole sound mind thing?
All right, well, great question. Sound mind and sound mind thinking comes from a place of a person's capacity to reason and think for oneself. So they're really just solidified all the way around. They're solid, they're sound in the way they feel, in the decisions they make, and in who they are.
Okay, so what does sound mean? Like, how did you come up with the term sound mind?
So sound is a breakdown of frequency, and you can just hear it in the air. You know when it's coming, especially when it meets a person's ears. They talk about animals have the ability to just hear on a whole different frequency, but that comes from impeccable ability to hear sound. And so a lot of times when you walk into a place and you can just pick up the vibe of somebody, whether it's good or bad, you can almost feel them before they're even saying anything, and that's just, it comes from sound.
And how did that sound mind, how did you coin that sound mind?
Sound mind was something that I wanted to coin because when we talk about good vibes and how a lot of the things that we're communicating reaches another person before they even say anything. So I thought that was fascinating. I thought, wow, how is it that a lot of the things that we're communicating to one another is not even what's being said out of our mouths? So from that it stemmed to sound, and so from sound comes a lot of what's in our mind, right? It's our thoughts that we had, and that gives off that energy. And so if you have a sound mind, you're having a positive energy about you, and so you're clicking on all cylinders, and that's how sound mind came together.
Nice. Okay, how do I know whether I have a sound mind or not?
Okay, so you'll know that you have a sound mind from a series of things. If you're, like I said, clicking on all cylinders, you're making the right decisions, you're happy with the outcomes that you have, because a lot of it is your thoughts, your actions, then your behavior from a psychiatric standpoint, right? So from a mental standpoint. But you also have a good feeling about yourself, because a sound mind goes hand in hand with a healthy body. So sound mind, sound body, and so it works together. And so you'll feel good about where you're at in life and the decisions that you're making. And so you'll know when you don't have a sound mind, because your ability to reason is kind of hindered. And so what's stopping you from making the decisions that you want to make? What's hindering you? And that's where we go to the root of the behavior that you're experiencing and why you're making those decisions. So on and so forth.
How do I get from a noisy mind to a sound mind?
Well, if you look where we're at, right, you hear the water just in the background. It's
Man, this
peaceful.
view is amazing.
Yeah, it's really
It's
peaceful.
like beautiful.
It's really peaceful. And so when you're talking about getting from a noisy mind to a sound mind, you're talking about clearing out the noise, right? So when you're in a chaotic environment, you have a lot of noise that's taking place. You're hearing a lot of different voices, and it sounds like a lot of clutter going on in your mind. And so if you want to clear out any space, right, you go into your house and you want to clear out a room, you start removing things. And so that's how you get rid of the noise. You start removing things, and in order to get to a place where you're having a sound mind and it's peaceful inside, you got to remove those things that's making noise. Whether it be the company you keep, whether it be the things that you're listening to, whether it be the harmful habits that are taking place. You remove those things by any means, and when you do so, you'll notice that it starts to get a lot quieter inside your mind.
Nice. It sounds peaceful just the way you described it.
Yeah.
Okay, what does someone with a sound mind look like in a way that the way they live their life, the way they carry themselves, the way they communicate with others, the people they surround themselves with? What does someone look like? Give me an ideal, and you can even give like a person like that you see and you observe in your own life, that you look to them and you say, man, they got a really balanced life.
Yeah.
What does it look like?
Well, it looks like they're just clicking on all cylinders, right? In every facet of their life, from their relationship life to, you know, how they interact with other people, and how they show love to one another, to their fellow neighbor, and from how they're inspired, and they're able to inspire others just by being inspired themselves. So they're able to motivate, right? And also, I mean, even in their financial life, you just see that the checks are in balance.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. A sound mind is a balanced life, right? It's a balanced life. So that means that every single area of their life, they are in the positive. They're in what my mentor calls the black, right? And so that's really what you see when you see someone that has a sound mind. You see that person is clicking on all cylinders. They are doing what it is that they are supposed to do as far as where they want to go, and they're doing it to the highest level of their capability. So their capacity is able to receive everything that they're putting out. So somebody that is doing that, in my opinion, I would say is my mentor. And this is really not necessarily a shout out, but for everyone that's looking for a mentor, you want to look for somebody who is where you want to be, right? So if they're making the decisions that you would like to make, and they're power decisions, right? They're consulting with businesses, and you like that idea, and they're making moves in every different direction that is better for themselves as well as for their family and their loved ones. That is a person that you want to be around, and if you're fortunate to have them as a mentor, that's someone that you can learn from. They'll rub off on you, and they'll show you how they've done what they're doing. And for me, it's been Tim Story. Tim Story is, a lot of people call a life coach to the stars, to the celebrities. They call him a motivational speaker, pastor, and an author, a speaker, a great speaker at that. And so you want to get around those type of people because they're pretty much covering all facets of life, and they're in the black.
So I want you to elaborate on that, because I feel like a lot of people could easily fall in the trap of thinking, I'm not where I want to be, so how could I have peace right now if I'm not where I want to be? And it oftentimes leads them to anxiety, like you're constantly chasing something and chasing it and chasing it. So what would you tell somebody who they see their end goal, they don't know how they're gonna get there, they're looking at where they're at, and they're just waking up and they're like, how do I go about life in a way that's going to be effective, and even though I don't know exactly my route to where I want to go, but I see the end point.
Right.
How can I still have a sound mind, or how can I still bring peace into my daily life, even though I'm not where I want to be?
Wow, and that's a lot, and a great question, or questions, right? So let's start with the first part is give yourself some credit, right? If you're feeling this way, give yourself some credit, right? We have a lot of pressures that are already out there in the world, and people are just placing on us, right? No need to place more pressure on yourself to where you have anxiety. So when I say give yourself some credit, that means that you might not be where you want to be, like my mentor always says, but thank God that you're not what you used to be, right? So you're making progress, you're moving forward, and that's something that you can check off. The as far as where you're going, right? So I believe that first you got to give yourself some credit, right? And that opens up the capacity for more. Because if you're constantly beating yourself up and you're giving yourself negative self-talk, right? What that does is that decreases your capacity for more, right? So you first want to increase your capacity for more. So you give yourself some credit. Let's talk about the things that you're doing correctly. Let's talk about the things that you want to change. And the things that you want to change, you start working on those, but you also realize, I'm going to play to my strengths. This is what got me to being strong in this area. And so you use those methods in the areas that you might not be as strong in. And that's how you start building up your weaknesses, right? But you dare to do the impossible, right? You dare to do the things that for the longest time you felt like you were weak in. That takes courage. And once you do that, right, then you can move forward. And I know the next thing that you were saying, I don't want to mix up the order. I believe you were talking about what do you do when you feel like you know, how am I going to get there? Or you have anxiety, is that correct?
Like because you're not where you want to be, you feel like you can't have peace in your life.
Right.
So explain, because I know, but like explain to people what it is that a sound mind looks like. It doesn't have to look like you finally hitting your goal, or
Right.
like you can still have a sound mind through the process.
Right, exactly, and that is great. By the way, to have a sound mind through the process is to enjoy the process, right? Because a lot of the times we find that when we get to where we want to go, we're like, that's it, and then we're on to the next thing, right? So take time to enjoy the process, no matter how difficult that it may be, because then you'll be able to celebrate it knowing that, wow, this is what it took to get there, and I enjoyed every bit of it because it made you a better person to do so, right?
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about how do you get to a place when you're like, wow, how can I get to this place? I'm not there yet, and how do I have a sound mind in that process? Well, what you want to do is you want to celebrate the little successes along the way of the big success of finally getting to your destination. And so you give yourself credit, you celebrate those little successes, and then you keep improving. And so you're constantly speaking to yourself in a positive manner. You're definitely, when you do that, you're giving other people permission to do the same, right? So when you're speaking to yourself in a positive manner, I know a lot of times people will disqualify themselves before they even have a chance to qualify themselves. And I think this is very important with talks like, I can't do this, or I'll never be able to get there, or you know, they break themselves down with the I can'ts, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough. You disqualify yourself before you even get on the journey to get to where you want to go. So I think it's really important that you have that positive self-talk, and then you encourage other people to give you that same praise. You're not looking for it, but you're actually opening up the door so that you can receive it. And you definitely cut out those that are giving you negative talk, because you're already giving yourself that positive talk.
Sweet. That helps a lot. What is your connection, your personal connection to sound mind? Have you ever dealt with a place of feeling like this person has this expectation of me, but deep down inside, I know I see myself this way, and
Right.
it's not what this person sees. Maybe a coach, maybe a parent, maybe someone you surround yourself with currently. What is your personal connection to this whole sound mind thing?
My personal connection to sound mind stemmed from my youth, my early childhood. You know, I had a lot of expectations placed on me in order to succeed in sports and to get a scholarship in college. And so, you know, instantly my dad, and you know, my dad is a great person, but he really challenged me. My mother, a great person, but they really challenged me. But my dad challenged me in the area of, I am going to exceed the level that he the level that he obtained in basketball. And that's where I got pushed. It didn't start out that way. My first sport was football, and I loved it all the way up until picking myself up off the ground after constantly being hit going across the middle. And I was taller than most of my peers, and I was skinny, and so I fit the mold for basketball. And so I said, you know what, Dad, I quit football, and I think and I didn't say I wanted to play basketball at the time. I just said I quit football. I'm tired of getting hit. And then immediately my dad told me, hey, listen, the Dalton family are not quitters, and so you better pick a sport because college is expensive and I'm not paying for it. But what that did was, one, that opened up my mind at an early age is that I'm going to college, right? It's not an option. And two, I'm going to have to figure out what sport is going to pay for that. And so I picked basketball, and immediately I started working towards that goal. And I don't regret anything, but what I do feel is that I was actually doing something that I loved, but I wasn't in love with. And I find that a lot of times when you're pressured into doing something, or you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, it can take you very far. But at the end of it all, you'll be more fulfilled in an area that you love doing and that you're willing to do, whether somebody presses you to do it or not. So nobody had to tell me to want to go help kids and speak to them about having a sound mind, because I understand what it feels like to not have a sound mind when you're constantly putting so much pressure on yourself to obtain a certain goal. And I think that when you put those pressures on yourself, sure, you're going to be able to reach many different heights and receive many different awards and things like that, but all of that means nothing if inside you don't feel at peace and fulfilled as far as what you feel like you're supposed to do for the rest of your life, your purpose. And I think that outweighs anything that is temporary. And so when you're carrying out somebody else's dream, then you can only do it to a certain extent. But when you're carrying out your own dream, you can do it to the best of your ability. And it feels right. It feels like a tailored suit that is specifically fitted for you.
That's awesome. That's so good. I really hope everyone catches on to what he said, because he said some really good points. Show them your backpack. Let me see this Soundmind backpack.
All right. So this Soundmind backpack you see going down the
so
straps.
Cool.
And
style.
And it's red, one of my favorite colors, right? Because one thing about red, and I'll tell you guys, we're talking about a sound mind, red is the color of confidence. So that's one thing that I can say about red. And so when we're talking about sound mind, we're talking about confidence, but not confidence that you have to go out there and prove and show off and things like that. It's an inner confidence, and when you walk into a room, people feel it. It's not the type of confidence that just beats your chest in front of somebody else and all this bravado, and it's not arrogance. It's a quiet strength, and that's what sound mind exudes. It's a quiet strength. Nice. And so I want everybody to have that. And definitely, if hit that subscribe button if you like what we're talking about here, and we're on the second episode. And share because you care. That's what my mentor always says. Share because you care. And if you know friends out there that needs to hear this, we're going to be doing this every week, and we're going to be giving you different episodes, and also interact in the comments, because it's in those comments that I can hear how you guys are doing and what you guys are going through, and who knows, maybe your topic could be on the next episode. All right, until next time, love, peace, and a sound mind. We're out of here.